That's right, we're going to talk about the movies that we like regardless of critical praise, box office totals, and overall audience reception. These are the movies we love for being what they are, why they are, and how they are. These are our comfort flicks.
I'm BA.
Timeshare? I'd love to get in on that.
Good morning.
He tried to escape by jump-starting an ambulance.
With a defibrillator.
Clear.
I told you the mission wasn't over.
The A-Team.
You banking my van! I'm gonna kill you, fool!
You can't park there. That's a handicapped zone.
We freaking love this movie. We just freaking adore it. In fact, I actually just looked at my Facebook memories. The day we're filming this is 11 years to the day we actually saw this movie.
Right? I'm the one who looked at my Facebook memories and told you that.
Oh.
You swiped my own memory. My Facebook was the one that said, hey, we just saw A-Team, it's amazing, in 2010. That's a long time ago.
Oh, jeez, that was a long time ago. It's a good thing we got alcohol. And you know what, 11 years ago, and it still has not waned. This movie still works for us.
It's still hilarious.
What was the thing that enticed you to want to watch it?
I watched some of the A-Team as a kid, you know. It's like everyone knew Mr. T in the van and plans and making things out of nothing.
They were just always ended
up
in
And there was always nobody would ever get shot.
Yeah.
Like, that was always an ongoing joke, because they'd miss everyone if they got shot at.
And it's funny because apparently, the producers and even some of the cast wanted it to be accessible to a family audience. So that's why rarely anyone ever got shot.
Like, they didn't get shot in the ground. That's an ongoing joke with the show, is nobody got shot, even though everyone had a gun.
Yeah.
This movie, people get shot.
Yeah, people get shot.
That was actually kind of nice to see. I was kind of like, cool, you hit somebody.
Yeah, I remember when this movie came out, I was thinking to myself, honestly, that's what a good anything reviving a TV show should do, is kind of cherry pick, certain things that were kind of silly that were its identity, but simultaneously you gotta critique some of the things that people used to heckle about it. And yeah, one thing people used to heckle was the fact that it was consequenceless violence. And no, this time around there was violence, but
that was your standard issue, PG-13 and stuff, like nothing intense.
Exactly. So we were children of the 80s. We grew up with the A-Team. I admit, me and my family watched it as well. I just didn't comprehend it around the age I was watching it.
I just watched it for Mr. T.
That's the reason why when you were a kid, Rocky 3 was your favorite Rocky movie.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell all these nice folks why you've been ducking me? Politics, man. This country wants to keep me down.
Actually, I would just skip to the scenes with Mr. T beating him up, because I was like, I don't care about Rocky. I didn't even know Mickey died in the movie.
Yeah, we thought.
I skipped that. I was like, no, watch Mr. T.
Mommy, why's the penguin sleeping? He's just sleeping,
I didn't know
honey.
that was a penguin for so long.
I didn't know either. Any friend who I've talked to who really do love the A-Team, we have not heard a single iota of complaints about this movie.
I haven't. The movie's all prequel for the series, because the series, it's Soldiers of Fortune, been wronged by the government, they help people out, whatever.
Oh, big shock. The government wrongs their heroes. Oh.
So the movie is pretty much the setup to how they get there. There's multiple sequences of them doing all the stuff we know they do in the show. The personalities are all there, their shticks. One of Mr. T's biggest things was say, I pay the fool.
Yeah?
You could not, the thing is, you can't have somebody else say that. That is Mr. T. So they kind of slipped it in there.
They go the hard way.
That was like a great homage to something we know from the show, and like even if you didn't watch the show, you know that. The
major reason why I love it, especially as a TV show adaptation, almost I'd say in the same family as the Addams Family movies, is that the actors did not even bother trying to emulate what came before, and they were all doing their own thing, which is great because that's enough to carve your own identity. I never felt the compulsion to compare Quentin Rampage Jackson to Mr. T. The defining character traits are still there.
Oh,
Hannibal is still the, solid as a rock, man with the plan. Faceman is still like, the fun-spirited playboy.
Yeah, I think they cranked him up a little bit higher, but when you have Bradley Cooper playing him, it's like, that's fair.
And you know what? This was actually a big one for Bradley Cooper, because around this point he was a comedy star and he was only a drama star because he was on soap operas, he was on Nip Tuck.
Oh God, I remember that.
Hey Peter, go round up some neckties.
What?
Oh God damn it! It's Casual Friday. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough.
And he made a big splash the year prior with The Hangover. No one really thought that he could have metal as an action star. And
he did good.
yeah, he did. And actually, a notorious thing on the production of this movie, when he was doing gun training, his reload rate was so good. In fact, Pike, who played by Brian Bloom, they actually wrote in a line where he actually commented on how good Face's reload rate was. Now, Bradley Cooper, after that, he did American Sniper. Now he just had to work on his fake baby carrying skills. The main reason I was stoked for this movie is because Joe Carnahan is directing this. And back in my Blockbuster days, I stumbled upon a movie called Narc, which I still maintain is one of the best cop films. I would say if there's any film that holds the honor of being just as good as The French Connection, it's that one. And then soon afterwards, he did a film called Smokin' Aces, which is one of those crazy, almost in the same vein as shoot 'em up kind of movies. It's just balls to the wall. So to find out he was going to be directing The A-Team, an adaptation of a show which is notorious for being incredibly silly, but also incredibly alpha male, he's probably the best director for the job, and he did not disappoint in my book.
As much as you had your four guys and they were all tough and everything, I never felt that it was overly alpha male. Not like the Expendables or anything like that. I didn't feel like testosterone was oozing out of the screen. It felt like it was four guys who are really good at what they do, and they are very creative. They think outside the box. They think 5 steps ahead, and they get along. Like, they're a true family where they actually know nuances about each other, where BA is really pissed off that they tricked him into flying.
That ain't a boat!
And they're all like, do you want to mess with them? And then Murdoch's like, I know how to do it.
Give me that. Favorite. Get them toast points.
Voila.
It's like how a family member would do it.
So,
calm them down.
So it's safe to say Joe Carnahan and the A-Team were doing the whole family thing in extreme circumstances.
Another franchise.
And they didn't have to say it 50 times per movie.
Family.
Family just got bigger.
This movie's got some crazy action sequences that are hard to believe at times.
You can't fly a tank, fool!
But you kind of like just take it as it is because it's so ridiculous. That became a thing later. This came out during the Bourne era of the uber gritty realistic stuff.
Actually, I would say the major thing that started it was definitely the beginning of the Daniel Craig era of James Bond. This was also, like you said, the dawn of the Bourne era. And yes, the Dark Knight. Everyone became obsessed with realism.
Yeah, you had like really gritty, more that shaky cam thing.
With the A-Team, this was a show where on a formulaic level, at some point in practically every episode, they would get trapped in a conveniently stocked warehouse, and where they had everything they needed to affect not only their escape, but their means to overthrow the antagonist of that week.
And they'll do it pretty quick, too.
Yeah.
Like, these guys are like chemists. They know all kinds of stuff of how to do everything, and they're very good at theatrics.
Yeah.
Whoa, what is happening?
That's why this movie works, is because it's stuck with the nuts.
And
had a good time with it.
the opening of this movie,
before the A-Team is on the screen, sells the movie instantly.
Yeah,
You're not on board at that point. Get off the train.
Yeah. All I can say is, like, it was just a freight train, that opening, and we were just good for everything else the movie. Even with the muddled plates plot, we didn't care.
Yeah, it was not as interesting, or you have to actually watch it like twice to truly get what the heck is going on. But in the end, you kind of just want to see the action sequences, and those are set up well. So.
Well, you want to see the action, but you most importantly want to see the characters interact with each other, because fortunately, the one thing that really works, and ironically, this cast had better chemistry than the cast on the TV show. That's the look that shit up. That is actually scary. The first 15 minutes of this film are outstanding when it comes to establishing the origins of all these characters, how they all came together. But the best part is they were able to also show their defining traits in that mirror, in that 15 minutes. Yeah.
Their traits, their skills, how they work together, and also like the initial meeting of two of them to the other set.
Even down to BA's fear of flying.
We start. Close the door! I know you're airborne rangers, but that was ridiculous!
It's alluded to in the series that it's Murdoch's fault, which you wouldn't question. In this, you find out what he did, and you can't blame me for not wanting to fly. And he even later on says, like, I was it was an airman, and now I got him afraid of
Airborne
flying.
Ranger, he's got a bunch of jumps.
One time with you, man.
One time in a rickety helicopter with Murdoch.
And there's a lot of laughs, a lot of action, but there's actually some quiet moments where BA and Hannibal first have their conversation. Is actually kind of deeper.
A nice nod actually to Mr. T, who notoriously was a pacifist, and I think he still has stayed true to that to this very day.
He wouldn't do a cameo in this film because he felt it was too violent.
Honestly, I can think of worse reasons
No,
to not do a cameo.
I respect that a lot more than I don't wanna. 'Cause I
Yeah, no, money.
It's like, yeah, are you?
Yeah, you know, he felt how he felt, and I'm pretty sure he said good luck, but I'm not feeling this. And that's when I said, but even then, they were actually used that idea to actually give BA something of an arc, to hit home the idea that pacifism, you know, by its concept is not a bad thing, but ultimately sometimes, even in the case of the person who he emulates in the movie, even he had to step up and say, we got to fight sometimes.
Well, they acknowledge that, like, some people take pacifism in the sense of literally everything to the point where you can be a punching bag, but that doesn't mean you can't defend yourself or, you know, have to do what needs to be done to save others. And it is kind of clearly an homage to Mr. T's personal philosophies, which I thought was a nice thing to do because Mr. T was like the heart and soul of the original show, and he was not BA was not an elaborate character. He was Mr. T.
Mr. T ever really acting? Was BA
no,
an actual character or wasn't?
Yeah. I think the most acting he did was actually in Rocky 3 because he played a really nasty guy, and Mr. T was apparently not like that.
Yeah. Hey, you know, and to Mr. T's credit as an actor, I totally believed him as a woman.
I can say to the world, hey, this is me. I am woman, and I like me.
Watch Freaked. It's awesome.
Yeah, I watched that movie.
Freaked is amazing.
Yeah.
You still, to this day, have not seen District 9.
No.
That's fine. To me, it's one of those great movies I really don't feel the need to see again. But if you ever did want to watch it, I will watch it with you. But Charlton Copley was such an out of left field choice. I actually did some research. In prior times they tried to get this movie made, they were looking at Jim Carrey to play Murdoch.
I mean,
logical choice.
He's kind of the obvious choice. He would have done fine. But I like they went with somebody
very unconventional, especially at the time.
Well, at least just not as known and more. He looked like he was having way too much fun. And you could tell a lot of this stuff had to be improvised. Like some of the random things, we were watching the extended cut, so there's a lot more like just random stuff there. Oh, I think like everything of him in the nut house, he was
the whole montage of him rallying up all the lunatics. Yeah, they had to have.
And they even put in a little bit where he speaks Swahili because he can.
Ndio bwana. Nimezaliwa Zanzibar.
Natoka huko, habari gani ndugu?
Nzuri sana.
You know the actor, you're like, I know where the punchline's gonna be. He's gonna start speaking fluently and just perfectly. But to somebody who wouldn't know that would actually be a terrifying moment.
Oh yeah. I mean, if there's anyone in the movie who really was playing to his strengths, we're pretty confident he was going to pull this off was friggin' Liam Neeson. I mean, I think there's very little to say about his performance in the film, just because he's such a solid actor. You could definitely buy him as the idea man. You could definitely buy him as the guy who's always one step ahead.
There's a very few actors out there who has a face where he could look so sweet and thoughtful, and then not even change any part of his face, you're scared to death and you think he's going to kill you. Like, he's got that look that he can do that, and he uses all those things. But I kind of love just any of the times where he looks like mischievous. Cause
I love it when a plan comes together.
You could tell that he was kind of having some fun.
Yeah, this movie would have died if not for just this great cast. I would say the thing that gave me faith in this movie, like when it was announced, when they dropped that very first promo shot, the behind-the-scenes shot, when I saw all four of them together, I was like,
oh yeah, they
look great.
They look like the A-Team, but they sold the look perfectly. And I mean, come on, let's be real. Mr. T's aesthetic, like the chains and everything, is Mr. T. But you still looked at BA in that picture and went, that's BA.
Because that was a major coup, just Quentin Rampage Jackson. Because prior to this, he was an MMA fighter.
He did a great job.
Yeah, and again, didn't feel beholden to have to imitate Mr. T, just did his own thing. Now, in the original series, particularly in the early days, there was a reporter character who accompanied the A-Team. They obviously did not, I wouldn't be surprised if they had done a sequel, they would have probably employed this character. You know producers, you know Hollywood, they're going to say, you know, this is going to be a soft space that we don't have. And of course, they probably would have said, let's put a love story in there. The one thing about Face is that, well, one of the things he's notorious for is that he's a player.
That's not a surprise to think he maybe has some ex-girlfriends.
Yeah.
And I hate forced love stories in movies, especially when it's like, oh, the one female character's got to hook up with the guy, and I hate that. It's so boring. It's so obnoxious. This one, it was an ex, and they play to more the idea that she still knows who he is, because of course everyone thinks they're the bad guys, and she's like, I know him, and it kind of gave her a little more insight. And I mean, even then, like at the very end, because she knows him, is able to help them. But they didn't really force that whole love thing. It actually was more of a Hannibal watching Face, because clearly Face still liked her, and she clearly kind of just moved on.
And as is established in the beginning of the movie, Face does have a tendency to accidentally derail missions because of his libido.
Yeah, he thinks he's in love, and like, what? You know, which also makes me wonder, like, with Jessica Biel's character, if he really got serious, or did she dump him? Like, there's still some question of how did things really go. Like, his view is she clearly dumped him. He thinks it's because he got too close.
Wanna go there?
Yeah,
you
let's
really
go
wanna
there.
Go there?
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
you heard I was a player. You wanted to play, and then I got serious, and you freaked.
Oh, I forgot.
Yes,
I
you
did
Pat,
not.
yes,
I
you
did not
did. Yes, you did.
He's also a very chaotic person, and she might have gotten worried about being close to someone who's so chaotic. I mean, we don't know the details of it, only that there's at least no extreme harsh feelings.
Yeah.
They still probably would want to smack each other around a little bit, because Face deserves it.
Good morning.
But you never get the vibe that she's doing it because she loves him.
No, she's doing it because it's her job. It's the right thing to do.
She never loses focus on the fact that she never loses the bigger picture here. She understands the stakes. She understands that it's more vital to help them because of the bigger picture, as opposed to this other thing on the side.
That whole thing is more to just humanize Face a little bit, not make him look like a complete horn dog.
Yeah, because
because otherwise he's a horny dude.
Yeah, it's really hard to do a character who's an incorrigible poonhound, and to make him enjoy, especially nowadays. You gotta be careful.
Show that he has the capability of wanting to maybe cool down. I think that's maybe what that whole plot line was more for. Not for her. She's not a bitter ex or anything. She's more just a dude. Come on.
Yeah. One thing I got to give credit to Jessica Biel, though. She's one of those ones, I guess, because I never took her seriously after Seventh Heaven. And admittedly, I still have not watched the remake of Texas Chainsaw. Unlike, say, someone like Denise Richards as Christmas Jones, I actually had no problem believing that she was an authority figure with the Department of Defense.
Actually, one of my favorite bits was, it's in the extended cut, where the team have these guys kind of pretend to be them to distract those following them. And she walks in, and the one goes like, "Yeah, they paid us $50." And the one guy who shaved his head to look like BA, he's like, "They paid me $100." She goes, "I think they paid you $100." She was a competent, helped them out when they needed it most, and that was awesome.
Yeah, like we said before, the whole core plot with the villains was a little muddled. But the one thing, again, much like our heroes, our villains were still incredibly entertaining to watch anyway. I mean, on one side
one of them surprisingly.
Well, it's one of them surprisingly well, considering he's kind of usually a pretty wonder-bread actor, and he hadn't hit his big stride in horror as he has.
Oh, I was talking about the other one.
Oh, you're talking about friggin' Brock Pike, played by Brian Bloom.
Yeah, I was talking about Pike.
Oh,
I know what I'm doing.
Okay, paintballers, time to go pro.
Oh, you're just a henchman thug, dude, and he's so uninteresting. He's so boring. And then they drop one scene. I won't say what it is. One scene where this character suddenly grows a massive personality, and it's amazing. It's a great scene. You kind of wonder why this has never happened in another movie. It's very funny, but you suddenly sympathize with like this mindless, boring, stereotypical bad guy. Suddenly you're like, "Oh man, you're right." Yeah,
I'm sorry, I gotta put up the... Well, I'm sorry, I just want to talk about this scene, because Pike, Brian Bloom, and Morrison, who turns out to be alive, they tried to cross Patrick Wilson's Lynch.
Simply said, you have 3 people pulling a heist to steal the plates. 2 of them decide to screw over the third one. The third one's Lynch. So
Pike is now in a caravan with Lynch and 2 of Lynch's cronies, who you could tell have never handled a gun in their life.
And we see in a long take about how much they don't know how to handle a gun.
In the car?
We're gonna do this in the car?
You're doing this?
He's gonna do it.
What are you doing? What is he doing? Jesus.
You alright?
I'm good.
Brother, you are far from good.
This is the scene that I remember even when we saw in the theater for the first time, we were on the freaking floor, because you can tell this is another probably one of those examples where it was entirely improvised, where one of them is actually like propping the gun between his legs with the barrel pointed directly at his face as he's trying to put the suppressor on.
He's just like, oh no.
And he's like,
you're turning it the wrong way. That's a suppressor. That is not a silencer.
You're still alive and you've handled the gun.
Yeah, and then the guy like holds the gun at him.
Amazing. Jesus Christ. Hey, final request. Don't let this guy shoot me.
Suddenly, this mindless villain who was really boring
suddenly
was hilarious.
Whose catchphrase game was utterly boring, where he just kept going, "You're not going to kill me. I'm going to kill you. I'm lucky. No, you're lucky." And it was like,
yeah, he was such a
basic bitch of henchman, but yet
he was. But then he got this great sarcastic scene. And I was like, don't give him personality now. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
The other villain that actually matters in the film for the most part
is Patrick Wilson as Lynch,
and he was kind of fun because I like his reaction, especially the finale where he's like, "Huh? What is this? What are they doing? I don't know." And
yeah, just
he gets
you can tell
flustered very quickly.
Okay, he's moving him.
You got him? He's moving him.
For the love of God, relax.
I am relaxed.
Full-blown amoral CIA asshole who probably has barely ever seen combat in his life, even though he gloats that his jiu-jitsu is better than his Muay Thai. And yet, yeah, and ultimately he gets humbled by that shit. But the fact that he swaggers around.
We have weapons. No, you may not want us.
Very egotistical, snippy, weird comments, just a complete dick. But he looks like he enjoys it.
Being a Broadway buff as I was, I knew him from the original cast of the Full Monty musical back in... He played the lead. He played Robert Carlyle's character.
Oh!
And I never feel like somebody calls a father.
Okay, I like the fucking movie of Family Opera. Screw it, whatever. I like that movie. But I will say, Raoul in that film is so much
way better than the original show.
And he did a good job. He actually made me kind of side with him, which I would never do in the original version.
Never.
So I know from that, I was like, you know, he was doing a different kind of character, and he did it really, really well. I actually really.
And again, I don't think he had really done action films at that point prior to it either. I mean,
he wasn't doing a lot of action stuff. But
yeah,
this is before the whole horror, like
before
Conjuring,
he had his big breakout with the Conjuring
and all that stuff. Long before that, but he looks like he's having a good time. He is a villain who has a personality, which is I'm always very big on.
Yeah, you did. I think the movie overall as a whole just seemed to be just a celebration of just people wanting to have a lot of fun. And
personality.
Yeah, and you just really get the vibe that everyone involved just seemed to just naturally have a good time. And there was a lot of talk about sequel talk down the line. I think Bradley Cooper and Joe Carnahan were talking about what they were going to do afterwards. Unfortunately, just timing killed this movie. It made money, just not the kind where the studio's screaming, "Holy God, we got to keep making these."
It was a goofy, over-the-top action film during a time where realism, seriousness was the cat's me out right at the time. And it was just, I mean, keep in mind within that time frame, like Speed Racer came out and did not do well. And it's just, I don't think the audience was there. It had come out maybe 6 or 7 years later, like during the time where John Wick was now a thing, and Fast and Furious could do anything. The Expendables, like bombastic stuff.
It was before the 80s nostalgia wave. And I think at this
point...
That's
what they needed was the wave of... I mean, come on, He-Man's coming back.
And She-Ra came back in big form, and it was amazing.
This is the time that A-Team, the movie, should have come out.
I mean, yeah, we call it a comfort flick, but honestly, this was just one of... I think this is like even a tier above for me. This is just a full-blown happy flick. Where...
Yeah, I mean, aside from like a slightly muddled plot, which isn't bad, it's just a little more complicated than it needed to be.
And not as interesting as our characters, but fortunately our characters
are... Yeah, but whenever... You can have a boring AF plot. You got good characters, some good action, some fun. I don't care. Let's point out the plot of Mad Max Fury Road is go this way and then go that way. That's the plot.
But the thing that makes it work?
The characters and that action.
And the action. That's all you got. And and that's enough for us to consider the A-Team a severely, tragically underrated TV revival film. And I think, personally, we think you should too. Watch it. So do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think that this was a bastardization of the show? Or do you think that this is truly the next phase that the whole franchise should have gone towards? Leave it in the comments below. And for more addictive content on Narcotic Casserole, simply like, share, subscribe, click, thou shalt be served.